existence. And then we must also know what is possible with regard to God, meaning what is possible in the realm of creation. What may he do? What is his prerogative as Lord of the worlds? These are very important things. This is what we'll talk about. And our scholars believe in our traditions that you must know this, and that you must understand this, that you must internalize it. May Allah enable us to do that. So he says, فَوَاجِبٌ لِرَبِّنَا الْوُجُودُ. Thus, it is necessary that our Lord have existence. When he says that it's necessary that God exist, what does he mean by that? God has no need. God doesn't need anything. God needs to exist. What does that mean? Here he is using the language of pure reason. And the language of pure reason is the hallmark of our creed, whether we are Ash'aris or Maturidis or whatever we may be. It's very important. And pure reason has three judgments. And these are necessary, possible, and impossible. The nature of pure reason is that it looks to the essence of things. It is a shadow of the gift that was given to Adam, that God taught him the names of all things. And the names of things, especially in a language like Arabic or any other primordial language, the names of things tell you the realities of the things. They point to the essence of the thing. So he could say, this is this, and it has these attributes. So pure reason, whenever it is given a proposition, it will be able to say, without relying on customary experience, that this is necessary, it must be. Or that this is possible, it may be and it may not be. But other things, it will say, this is impossible, it cannot exist. Okay, this is the way that the pure intellect or pure reason works. And we have to train ourselves because we are deficient usually in this regard. That if you don't use a part of your body or your mind, it atrophies. If you don't use your arms, they become weak. Maybe you can't even move them. They atrophy. So also with the intellect, that we come out of a culture which is totally and tyrannically empirical. We only are told that things are valid if we can see them, if we can hear them, if we can touch them or taste them or smell them. This is the lowest level of knowledge. It is the most inexact. We were talking yesterday about the Doppler effect and Hubble's laws and the expansion of the universe theory and also thermodynamics. And these sound like pretty strong proofs to people with empirical training, and they are, as is quantum mechanics and other things. These are big things, but they're filled with all sorts of assumptions. They if you compare them to what we get from pure reason, they are not on the same level at all. Because there's so many things we don't understand about the nature of time and space and light and things like that in the universe. We're making a lot of assumptions about the uniformity, of nature and other things like that. And inshallah, these are valid and very useful proofs. Although some people would now question whether the laws of thermodynamics work the same in the earth as they do in the universe. There are questions like that. These debates go on. But, the intellect has these three judgments: necessary, possible, and impossible. And one of the roots of belief is to know the necessity of the necessary, the possibility of the possible, and the impossibility of the impossible. 3 rules. And when we say that God's existence is necessary, we mean by that it is obligatory for our minds to affirm that he has an existence which is uncaused, which has no beginning, and which therefore has no end, which is above causation, which is beyond time and space, which is utterly different, and that depends on nothing whatsoever. Okay, and this is the realization that we have by contemplating the nature of possible being, which is the existence of all these things that exist in the world. Okay, so it is necessary for me to affirm that God has this, that this is God's reality. And his name, or one of his names, that expresses his necessary existence is Al-Haqq. Al-Haqq, which means he whose existence is mutahaqqiq, he whose existence is realized perfectly and fully in every moment, without beginning and without end. That's what Al-Haqq means. He whose existence is mutahaqqiq, in every moment, fully realized, with complete perfection, without beginning, without end. Okay, this is his name. This is his reality. This is his right. This is who he is. But when our minds contemplate reality properly, then we must affirm this, even though we can never understand this. Just like every triangle in a Euclidean geometry is going to have 180 degrees, and they don't differ in China, and they won't differ on the face of the moon. That's just the way it is. That is necessary. In Euclidean space, the triangle's always going to be like that. If you go into another world where you have curved space, then you have different kinds of triangles, but not in the Euclidean universe. Okay? So this is a necessity. And I would like to repeat again what my teacher, Habib al-Haddad, may Allah be pleased with him, Ahmed Mashhur, never known a more beautiful human being. He is the embodiment of the light of the Prophet ﷺ. Really, I mean, he is a beautiful man. And he used to always say this. He said, the disbeliever is confused by creation. Creation is amazing. I mean, what we talked about, the expansion theory of the universe, Big Bang theory, the atom, you know what the atom is like. I mean, this is atomic theory, we've never seen one. But, if we were to build a model of the atom here, making the nucleus, let's say, as big as my fist, then the orbit of the electron would probably be half a football field away from here, on all sides. And the electron would be so small you couldn't see it. And the electron goes around the nucleus 10 billion times in 1/1,000,000th of a second. What is that? That is muhayyir, right? Here you have knocked on the door of majesty, and God has let you see through the veil. This is matter. All the weight in that atom is in that tiny nucleus, that if we had a whole football field here and a football field that way, and we had this little nucleus in it, and we had that orbit of the electron, which is like a dot going around it 10 billion times in 1/1,000,000th of a second, of course you wouldn't be able to go into the field. It would appear solid. And the weight of it is just in that nucleus. But the reality is that this doesn't exist. We would say that there's nothing in the football field. There's nothing there. There's just that tiny nucleus. And around it, the electron going, whirling at the speed of light, 10 billion circuits in 1/1,000,000th of a second. How can that be? This is the power of Allah. As we said, everything in the created world, every effect, every secondary cause, is a veil of the power of God. And that's what you see in the atom. And look at the power that is there. That if you divide that atom, what's going to happen? Catastrophic energy is released, right? Chaos. This is not the sunnah of God. This is the sunnah of God that you can do that, but you can't do this without permission. You have to know whether this is allowed or not, and under what circumstances it is or it isn't. We don't play with the sunnah of Allah. We only enter into the sunnah of Allah in DNA, genetic modifications, all of these things. If we have permission through the sunnah of the Messenger of God, and we know that if we open the door, we can close it again. Never open a door that you don't know how to close, and never close a door that you don't know how to open. So the world is amazing.